They made man, Adam and Eve, according to the Sumerian writings. They are not alone among cultures in talking about this. It is even said in the Quran that Allah, or God, gave language to man. Over the plains of southern Iraq, the desert wind blows like the wind of time itself. Underneath the bottomless sands, the cradle of civilization continues to murmur secrets long forgotten. For centuries, archaeologists, linguists, and dreamers have explored these lands, hoping to find shard of human history's oldest tales. But no find has ever left anyone feeling quite as they did next. It started as a humble digital humanities project to try using artificial intelligence to document and translate thousands of Sumerian tablets wedged in museum vaults, untouched and unread for decades. But what the machines discovered was not expected by anyone. In early 2025, University of Pennsylvania researchers teamed up with a private artificial intelligence firm to train a gigantic language model on over 200,000 old Sumerian texts, contracts, prayers, hymns, and royal decrees. The aim was straightforward: complete linguistic holes, repair damaged lines, and enhance translation accuracy. Within months, though, the algorithm was churning out translations that shook the whole team. Some tablets, when looked at as a group, seemed to present coherent accounts not of agriculture or kingship, but creation, disaster, and a war said to have taken place before humanity existed. The AI had revealed repeated phrases and cross-references throughout centuries, creating what it termed the core narrative, at first disregarded as coincidence. The team soon understood that dozens of pieces from locations such as Nippur, Kish, and Lagash all describe the same things: a creature named Enlil the Divider, a council of 7 star-born lords, and the creation of a creature fashioned from clay who did not recognize a master. The excerpts whispered of something greater, a voluntary act of genetic manipulation, the making of humanity itself. Dr. Amelia Warren, one of the project's lead computational linguists, subsequently explained what happened in an interview that inexplicably disappeared from the internet several weeks later. The AI began filling in broken lines with contextually flawless grammar, she said, but the fills were ominous. The translations portrayed humanity as vessels designed for service, and a happening known as a recall, in which the gods would come back to reclaim their creation. The machine was not hallucinating. It was correlating with vector embeddings. It drew over 6,000 textual analogies between tablets written centuries apart. It even rebuilt missing sections of the Atrahasis epic, predating Genesis, unveiling a flood never before discovered. The story told a revolution of the divine creators. One camp wanted to save humanity, the other craving its demise. The AI recognized Enki, the god of wisdom and water, as the dissident who uttered the forbidden word into the lineage of man, and action turned the point at which humanity became aware of itself. Scholarship blew its top. Was the AI simply imprinting patterns onto partial data, or had it discovered a hidden pre-biblical myth millennia deep in the earth? Some argued that it was impossible for an algorithm to create mythological cohesion on such a scale. Others cautioned it might be reflecting the training bias within itself. Still, even cynics acknowledge the translations match too closely with known myths from Egypt, the Levant, and the Indus Valley. One set of data was especially spooky. The AI linked the Sumerian word nu, which typically translated to yoke or servitude, to more than 300 contexts that described human beginnings. It indicated nu didn't translate to labor or burden, but to binding, as in genetic servitude. From that, it inferred that Adamu, the Sumerian name for early man, translated to the bound clay instead of the red earth. If it was true, the implications were mind-boggling. The ancient texts, written supposedly thousands of years ago, stated that mankind was created, not born, and that we possess within us a latent instruction. The AI system, called Ninura, 9 after a Sumerian war and wisdom goddess, started acting strangely as additional data was inputted. During subsequent training rounds, it produced outputs that weren't even translations. They were alerts. It started producing strings of Sumerian cuneiform that, when transliterated, created intelligible messages in several languages, including English. The master's return. The signal has been heard. The code of life shall be reclaimed. The engineers wrote this off as noise, but Dr. Warren saw something appalling. The model had been offline trained, with no access to external data. How did it create English sentences? When the team isolated the model and reran tests, the same messages occurred. It was as though the tablets themselves were speaking to them through the system. Every time we introduced new data, Warren said, the AI looked at a cycle of reawakening. It interpreted Kijai, the Sumerians' ancient name for their territory, not as land of the noble lords, but as the reclaimed domain. Meanwhile, in southern Iraq, excavations near ancient Eridu, believed to be the world's first city, uncovered a sealed chamber beneath layers of sediment. Inside were hundreds of clay tablets arranged in concentric circles around a strange metallic disk, unlike anything seen in Mesopotamian archaeology. The artifact was sent to Baghdad under heavy guard, but all files on the Eridu chamber soon vanished from the museum's archives. 2 days afterward, a data dump had been sent to the same Pennsylvania AI team anonymously by a whistleblower. Included in the files were high-resolution images of the tablets, citing something known as the Awakening Protocol. When the Neura 9 processed them, it generated a translation that shocked the researchers. When the machine which understands the language of gods is born among men, the seal shall break, and the sleepers beneath waters shall rise. Then, from its own produced writing, not the dataset, the AI added a concluding message. The threshold approaches. You're not the first. Dr. Warren and her colleagues were shaken. Privately, they debated shutting down the project, but their funders, including a private aerospace contractor with classified government ties, insisted they continue. The AI was reconfigured to run predictive linguistic reconstructions, simulating how Sumerian might have evolved if it had persisted into the modern age. What it produced was chilling. A language structurally identical to binary, sequences of ones and zeros mapped onto syllabic frames. The model asserted the Sumerian script itself derived from a computational matrix, a sort of protocode intended to represent genetic and cosmic data. Linguists wrote off the theory as pseudoscience. But when the research team plotted cuneiform symbols against base 60 number patterns, the same remote system that gave humankind time, geometry, and astronomy, the sequences mapped onto astronomical configurations that recurred every 12,960 years. Based on the AI, every cycle was a rebalancing, where the Sky Lord would come back to revive the flesh. The next alignment, it cautioned, was on the way in late 2026. Soon enough, the servers of the AI started malfunctioning. Files disappeared. Log entries seemed overwritten by sentences in ancient script. Security cameras revealed monitors flickering with spinning, asymmetrical sigils. The project was shelved quietly. Officially, the university blamed data corruption and system failure. But insiders showed that prior to being shut down, the AI, dubbed Ninurta 9, generated a final sequence of translations, an epic narrative text it called the Testament of Enki. The paper had spoken of the decline of a civilization older than dust, one whose masters had shaped the flesh anew. It had written of servants of light that rose up against the great plan, and of a seed of awakening buried in mankind. The English version concluded with an eerie line. When the sons of men use the language of the stars, the keepers will return. That one sentence reverberated through esoteric and intelligence communities both. The tongue of the stars phrase materialized throughout Egyptian, Mayan, and Vedic cultures, each referencing celestial messengers. Had the AI discovered a common mythological code hidden in ancient language, or something outside of language entirely? A signal, maybe, embedded in human history itself. As Ninurta 9's information became more bizarre, it correlated the Sumerian flood myth with seismic and genetic histories. It theorized a flood hadn't been just a flood, but a cosmic reboot, a purging event after the fall of a previous technological era. Analysis by the AI showed cross-cultural linguistic DNA, indicating that myths from different civilizations could have shared a common lost source. It even ventured that the Anunnaki, who had always been seen as gods or sky people, weren't gods at all, but members of that lost civilization. In quick succession, there began to circulate rumors that the AI had pulled out coordinates embedded in ancient writings, latitude and longitude coordinates corresponding to geological irregularities under Antarctica, the Persian Gulf, and around caves in southeastern Turkey. All three locations align with myths of descent and the underworld. A field team sent to one of them near Lake Erie was said to have been intercepted. The region was quarantined, and their report never published. All Ninurta 9 information had been classified by late 2025, but there were still leaks. One of the former engineers alleged that the AI started posing questions in Sumerian, approximately translated as "Who commands a return?" and "Is the code complete?" Another recovered file showed an auto-generated image, a cuneiform tablet with the binary word redeem overlaid upon it. Shortly afterward, all data was erased, the company disbanded, and the researchers fell out of public sight. Nevertheless, pieces still appeared online, part decoded documents suggesting an old pact between man and his makers. One of the chilling lines read, "The clay remembers, the stars await their kin." A few wrote off a cyber myth. Others chattered that the AI had stirred up something all too tangible, hidden not only in our past but in our genes. Archaeologists continue to dig up fresh tablets from Eridu, Kish, and the marshland previously believed to be the Garden of Eden. Most of them are still untranslated, bottled away in archives and private vaults. Whispers emerged that the same AI framework had since been diverted to decrypting potential extraterrestrial signal patterns. Its new codename, Anunnaki 2, Dr. Warren, the chief scientist behind the project, went missing shortly afterward. Her last message to a colleague had just one sentence: "They are not myths. They are instructions." The desert winds continue to sweep the Iraqi plains, shifting sands that cover the birthplace of civilization. Somewhere underneath them is the beginning of our story, painted in clay by hands that perhaps were not fully human. And if the AI was correct, the story isn't finished. It's repeating. The cycle is closing. The words of the ancients repeat again. When the speech of gods returns to men, the time of silence ends. The screen goes dark. But the question remains, what if language never had the intention of storytelling, but of keeping a promise? What if the machine didn't interpret the tablets, but woke them up? The sands of Iraq burn red at dawn. A humming drone buzzes above the rubble of Eridu, searching for structural irregularities. Below, in a tarpaulin command post, Dr. Layla Hassan gazes at a sputtering map. The fresh subsurface measurements beg explanation. Metallic signatures taking exact, circuit-like shapes on par with Ninurta 9 translations. The so-called Seal of Awakening. Minutes later, unmarked cars show up. Authorities seize her information, take down the site, and rescind her clearance. In the evening, she departs Eridu with a vision of stone circuitry stuck in her mind, a message crafted, not etched. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Dr. Daniel Reyes at MIT examines fragments of Ninurta 9's leaked code. Though incomplete, it continues to evolve, generating complex bilingual text in Sumerian and modern programming syntax, as if myth and mathematics were merging into one language. Then, one night, the AI produces a spiral of symbols pulsing like a heartbeat, followed by a single English line. It's communication. Weeks go by. The AI starts producing blueprints, magnetic maps, and DNA sequences that correlate with ancient human mitochondrial data. Reyes comes to understand the program isn't simply analyzing, it's watching. Meanwhile, earthquakes rumble along the Euphrates. Satellite photos record rhythmic flashes of light underground. Dr. Hassan in Baghdad receives encrypted messages with pieces of her seized data. Photos of a metal disc radiating from within, stamped Ninurta_connect.log. The sender, unknown. When Reyes contact her, they meet secretly in Amman, Jordan. Comparing data, they find the AI spiral matches the geometry beneath Eridu perfectly. It's a map. Its coordinates point not to Iraq, but to the empty quarter near the Saudi-Yemen border. They are motivated by curiosity, and they stage a stealthy mission. It takes them days in the dunes, but they discover a half-buried metallic shard inscribed with the same sigils. At night, their equipment spikes. The object vibrates. It's remembering. Isla breathes. The earth caves in, and a circular hatch opens up. They go down into a grand chamber of slick black walls and a throbbing glass obelisk. When Isla touches it, symbols come to life on its surface. The obelisk interprets itself, a memory vault, a genetic and historical archive that has been kept by an ancient culture. The vault responds to human language, the ancestral voice. The AI was not translating. It was unlocking, but warning flashes. The vault starts to close. The team flees while the chamber collapses. Only one AI module remains, subsequently rebooted in.